So, Ozzy Osbourne passed away a few weeks ago, and there's been all kinds of speculation about was he really a Christian? Was this whole Prince of Darkness shtick just a frontman kind of show thing? Well, thankfully, I'm not in charge of deciding who goes to heaven, who goes to hell. However, I do want to play this clip from Dylan Novak. He is sort of known as a celebrity evangelist. He goes to shows afterwards when there's an autographing and signing, and he interacts with the celebrities. So he shares his interactions with Ozzy. I think this was a few years ago when he gave him a Bible, and it's really interesting. Check this out.
He was very kind to fans.
You brought this Bible with Ozzy
Yes.
Osbourne's name imprinted on it.
So I walk up to him, and every time I go to meet a celebrity, I do my research, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So I knew where Ozzy stood spiritually. Of course, Geezer Butler is the lyricist for most of the Black Sabbath music, but they have a song called After Forever, which talks about can our souls be saved? So in an interview with The Guardian, this was back around, I think it was 2014, he brought up, he said, I identify more as Christian than anything else. And then in that same interview, he also said, I'd love to read the Bible more, but it's written in a language I don't understand. So I got him a New Believer's Bible, which is an NLT, um, just much more modern English. So I mentioned that. I shook his hand, told him, the reason I came to meet you today is because I love and care about you and your soul, and I got you this gift. And he was, okay, well, let me see it. So I pulled it out. And as I was pulling it out, I was telling him what I just told you. I read this interview where you said this. And he goes, yes, yes. And I said, well, I got you this. And he said, well, I still won't be able to understand it. And I said, no, it's a modern English translation. And he opened it up. He immediately turned to where the Gospels were, and he looked at it for a moment. And he looked back up at me and he said, I can understand that. Thank you. And he just had the sweetest smile on his face. He shook my hand. Thank you so much for coming to meet me. I said, of course, it was worth it all. And then he was, where are you from? And I said, I'm from East Tennessee, about an hour north of Knoxville. And he started talking about Randy Rhoads. That was the last show. Randy played with him back during the Blizzard of Oz tour. And that was really about it. And I thought, this is Jack's first event after that. I had probably a 30-minute conversation with Jack. And it was a very intimate, great conversation about Jesus and searching for spiritual truth. So I thought, I don't want to freak him out and him think I'm going to every show he's going to, because that wasn't the case. I just was going to happen to be there. But I was like, if it's God's will, it'll happen. Well, I was wearing the same jacket that day that I was wearing with Ozzy. And it's a Danny Goki jacket. It says, love God, love people on the back. Jack comes and taps me on the shoulder. He goes, excuse me, were you in Philly last week? I said, yeah, that was me. And he said, you're the guy who gave my dad the Bible, aren't you? I said, that was me. He said, so I first want to tell you a cool story about that and also tell you how much Dad loved that. He said, we were putting him on the elevator at the end of the night, which keep in mind also, because Ozzy was calm, took his time with everybody, he was at this event 5 hours after it closed. He didn't go up to his hotel room until about 2 a.m.
Wow.
Like, and he knew that was going to happen. But again, he just had that loving caringness about him and that was one thing Jack and I said. He said, thank you for not seeing my dad as just this evil person. I said, listen, I've seen evil people. I've been around evil. Your dad's not evil. He's a big teddy bear. He said, he is. It's a facade. He said, the media back in the day, they really pushed the dark image and he embraced it and branded it. It's a character. He said, so we're getting on the elevator, and he said, where's my Bible? I want my Bible. And he said, the look on everyone's faces, like the convention people, he said, even my face was like, did Ozzy Osbourne just say he wants his Bible? And he said he was very insistent. He said, then it clicked with me. Oh, the guy I met, that's it. And he said, no, Dad, it's down in the autograph room. We'll get it tomorrow. And he goes, no, I want it now. Ozzy made the point, I want to look at that tomorrow on my day off. So Jack said, I went downstairs, helped him find the Bible, and I brought it back up. He said, Dad brought it up and said, did you all get something like this? And he said, yep, we all got something. He said, so we all just started round table Osborne family lunch talking about the gospel material. And he didn't go into detail what they talked about, what they said, but he said, my dad has gotten a lot of gifts through the years. He said, but that is one of his most prized possessions. It's on his nightstand. And he said, and anytime somebody's been coming to the house asking, hey, how was the show? He's like, oh, Sharon, which I can just I can hear it. Go get my Bible. And you'll show him his name on the cover and be like, look how easy it is for me to read this and understand it. And I was like, man, that is just makes you want to cry because, and this goes not just for celebrities, but people we meet in day-to-day life. You don't always know this side of heaven. Sharing the gospel or praying with somebody or telling them about Jesus, you don't know the impact it's had on them.
Excuse me, Ozzy. I'm really loving the song God is Dead.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was strictly about Nietzsche or if that's something that you personally ponder every day. Was the sentiment of God is dead, is that something that you ponder
No, I
yourself?
was in a doctor's waiting room and saw a magazine which said, God is dead. And I thought, they flew planes into the World Trade Center and they're always blowing themselves up in marketplace and killing innocent people in the name of their God. And it's like, if that's the truth, that ain't calm me. But if you listen to the twist at the end of the song, he says, I don't believe that God is dead. Peter said he wrote them about someone who was in search of the fact if God is still there or if he's not,
So that's sort of a redemption for the character in the song?
I don't know, whatever you want to make.